Well, many of you have seen that green truck that I've driven around. It was my grandpa's 1973 Ford, and he certainly stored it in the winters, kept it free of rust and salt. But that was purchased with, you could say, the riches earned when he was working in Erie Mine. So for about, was it 36 years he worked there? And as I was reading, I saved this paper from a while back. I'm sure he worked in that complex there, and there was actually a cool little first aid kit in the glove box of that truck that has the emblem from probably 50 years ago of the mining company. So one of the guys at the chapel this summer was impressed with that. Kind of a neat little artifact. When we think about our lives, especially around here, and my family's life too, one side of the family relied on the riches that were found through mining. And as we ponder today, St. John of the Cross, it's his day on the church calendar, he actually has some advice to us about mining, that there are riches to be found in Christ, and that extracting them is like mining. So he says, we must dig deeply in Christ. He is like a rich mine with many pockets containing treasures. However deep we dig, we will never find their end or their limit. So while there's controversy about whether Hibtac will run out of ore, with Christ, that will never happen. Indeed, in every pocket, new seams of fresh riches are discovered on all sides. This creature's getting out of control here with one of the ornaments. Yeah, she found her riches today. So for this reason, because riches are found on all sides, the Apostle Paul said of Christ, in him are hidden all the treasures of wisdom and knowledge of God. The soul cannot enter into these treasures, nor attain them unless it first crosses into and enters the thicket of suffering. Yes, suffering, enduring interior and exterior labors, and unless it first receives from God very many blessings in the intellect and the senses, and has a long spiritual training. So the thicket of suffering, interior and exterior labors, certainly think about having to identify where the ore is. There's blasting, there's of course, not with pickaxes anymore, but extracting it from the ground, there's transporting it, but then even there, the suffering, there are furnaces. So I know Grandpa worked apparently maintaining, I think, ventilation for some years. He worked in the agglomerating department for a while. You need blast furnaces, you need heat. And so with our souls too, there's going to be heat of trials, the fire of sufferings, also with the fire of love. But it's going to take labors. Sometimes they're very hard rock surfaces. Sometimes you have to dig very deep to find the true riches. So, would that men might come at last to see that it is quite impossible to reach the thicket of the riches and wisdom of God, except by first entering the thicket of much suffering, in such a way that the soul finds there its consolation and desire. The soul that longs for divine wisdom chooses first and in truth to enter the thicket of the cross. So St. John of the Cross urges us, like St. Paul, to lean into that process of mining the riches of Christ. It takes labors, it takes effort. Sometimes there are earthquakes and tremors, regularly. Sometimes we get used to those. There are the blast furnaces of the difficulties in life, but there is always a new vein of ore or of gold. In every pocket, new seams of fresh riches are discovered on all sides. In Jesus Christ, the source of all wisdom, knowledge, love, and riches.